Chapter 21. The team leader's father is the City Lord South China Base. Zone H Adventure Camp. Who are you? Just because you say you're an investigator, does that mean you're an investigator? The adventurer who was suddenly stopped immediately looked unhappy. He looked at the several people in uniform black windbreakers in front of him and said in dissatisfaction. At this time, the leading man slowly stepped forward. He was wearing a black windbreaker, had a resolute face, a little stubble on his chin, and his broken eyebrows added a bit of ferocity to his mature charm. The first impression he gave people was that of a mature and steady man who was ruthless and didn't talk much. As soon as he came out, the adventurers around him couldn't help but take a step back in fear. Then he just raised his hands slightly, revealing a complete set of equipment under his windbreaker and a golden nameplate hanging on his chest. Seeing the nameplate, everyone was stunned. Their expressions changed instantly, and they hurriedly dispersed. He's actually a C-rank adventurer. I can't afford to offend him. That set of equipment is at least C-grade. What kind of family background does it have? After driving away the outsiders, these people stepped forward and spoke to Cheng Xing and the others. Everyone, let's talk somewhere else. Cheng Xing glanced at Su Yanran, and after seeing her nod, he followed them into a room in the corner of the camp. The moment the door closed, the leading man's face instantly fell. Ancestor, my little ancestor, can I call you ancestor? I asked you to investigate the increased mortality rate among new recruits in the disaster zone of L-Town. What kind of trouble have you caused me? 40% of the base troops have been deployed, and even the god of war has entered a level 1 combat readiness state. The man's wails echoed throughout the room. He had originally made an appointment with a few young girls to go out for a drink, but was called by his immediate superior halfway to deal with some matters. Only then did he find out that the South China base was alarmed because of a report from Su Yanran. Cheng Xing, let me introduce you. This is Su Haoran, the leader of the Awakener Management Bureau's investigation team. He's also my brother. He has an A-level sword spirit, is 24 years old and unmarried, and likes delay. Aha! Su Yanran seemed not to notice Su Haoran's collapse, and continued to introduce Cheng Xing. However, her introduction at the beginning was normal, but the tone suddenly changed afterwards, so Su Haoran had to quickly step forward and cover her mouth. I was afraid that she would reveal all my information. Is this 24 years old? Cheng Xing looked at Su Haoran, a mature uncle full of masculine hormones, with a look of astonishment. However, after Su Yanran's introduction, they did have some similarities in their features, especially the contrast between their appearance and personality, which made them look like a family. Hello, I'm Gao Chun, deputy team leader of Group 1. It seemed as if everyone in the group was used to the daily quarrels between the two siblings of the Su family. One of them, a man with a pair of charming peach blossom eyes and an incredibly handsome face, came forward and introduced himself. Gao Chun didn't know what was so special about the man named Cheng Xing in front of him, but since Su Yanran introduced their team leader in this way in front of him, it meant that the relationship between them must be complicated. I'm Shinya, a member of the team of investigators. Next, a lady with short, neat hair, a heroic air, and a proud figure that even a windbreaker couldn't completely hide came over and said calmly, Me, and me, I'm Li Man, and I'm also a member of the team of investigators. Finally, a little lowly with two buns on her hair waved her hands, stood on tiptoe, and squeezed in front of the two people, fearing that she would not be seen. Hello, I'm Cheng Xing. Cheng Xing smiled, raised his hand and shook hands with Gao Chun and said politely. They finished introducing themselves, and the fight between the Su brothers and sisters was nearing its end. Why didn't you report the situation to me, but reported it directly to Dad? Do you know that reporting to a higher level is against the rules? Su Haoran hit Su Yanran on the forehead with a roasted chestnut. The situation is urgent, and your level is not high enough. By the time you report it, there's no telling what might happen. Su Yanran retorted unconvincedly. What on earth happened? Here's what happened. After the farce was over, Su Yanran finally told the whole story in detail. When everyone heard that Chang Xing had an S-level talent with an increased explosion rate, everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes, because the highest level of this talent with an increased explosion rate was only D-level so far, especially when he knew that the bags on the Terror Claw team were all Chang Xing's spoils. Su Haoran looked at Chang Xing as if he was looking at some peerless beauty. Just when they heard the siege of blood mantises, the fallen and the last disaster behind them, their faces suddenly became serious. For something like this, the team leader's level is definitely not enough. Yes, it's not enough. Not enough. After listening to this, Gao Chun and the other two nodded in succession. You're going too far. After all, I'm your team leader. Su Haoran, who was hit hard one after another, looked heartbroken. But Gao Chun pretended not to see it and continued speaking. Shaoran, you did a good job this time. As for you, since our Awakened Administration is a confidential organization, and the existence of the Fallen also needs to be kept secret, you will need to sign a confidentiality agreement before you can leave. Immediately, Gao Chun looked at Chang Xing and the Terror Claw team and continued. The Terror Claw team nodded in agreement without even thinking. No problem. Chang Xing naturally would not refuse and nodded in response. After they agreed, the little lowly Li Man quickly took out the confidentiality agreement and asked them to sign it one by one. After signing the agreement, Chang Xing gave 10% of his gains from the upgrade to the Terror Claw team. Then the Terror Claw team left first. When Chang Xing packed up his things and was about to leave, Gao Chun stopped him. Chang Xing, please wait a moment. Anything else? Chang Xing looked at Gao Chun, who was walking towards him with a puzzled look on his face. Well, we'd like to ask if you would like to join our group? This time, Chang Xing did not refuse immediately, but fell into thought. This trip to L-Town brought him a lot of gains, but he also realized the problems. Too many things. Seeing Chang Xing hesitate for a moment, Su Yanran's eyes lit up. This is a possibility. Gao Chun also looked nervous and instantly imagined several questions that Chang Xing might ask, such as whether he would give him a full set of equipment, whether he would be assigned a partner, etc. If Chang Xing wants power, they can consider replacing the team leader. What are your salary packages like? Chang Xing thought about it and asked the question that concerned him most. But Chang Xing's question was beyond their expectations. Gao Chun glanced at the backpack at Chang Xing's feet, then looked at Chang Xing again, with an expression on his face as if to say, Brother, do you want to take a look at what you're asking? I can't help it. I'm an orphan and have been afraid of poverty since I was a child. Chang Xing said confidently. Annual salary of 1 million, 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund, the highest level and bonuses and subsidies for business trips. Make a deal. Gao Chun was already feeling a little insecure because of Chang Xing. After hearing about the treatment offered by the Awakener administration, Chang Xing agreed without hesitation. Agree now? Or do you want to be a team leader? Otherwise, we will feel guilty. Hey, you bastard! But shouldn't a confidential organization like yours require approval and assessment? Can I just join if I say so? That's true in principle. But our team leader's father is the city lord. Chapter 22. Private at Most South China Base. Area A, South China Tower. A towering tower stands in the middle of Area A. If you stand on the top of the tower and look around, you can see all areas of the base, and even the surrounding high walls are vaguely visible. This is the power center where the highest combat power of the South China Base is gathered. Around the bottom of the tower is a huge building complex, which is the headquarters of the South China branch of the Adventurers Guild. Spreading outward are the various departments that maintain the operation of the base. It is no exaggeration to say that if an A-level or above disaster beast breaks in here, it will hardly escape death. Inside the tower, in a huge conference hall, a middle-aged man wearing a clean jacket, with a solemn face and a face that was 70% similar to Su Haoran sat in the main seat. On both sides of the conference table, 11 figures were sitting in order according to the strength of their aura. The strongest one is the one in the main seat. If Chang Xing were here, he would definitely notice that the person sitting at the back was Chang Zhengyang. Master Suda, what's the matter that you summoned us here so late? One of the war gods asked slowly. A war god meeting like this would not be easily opened unless the base was under a major threat. See for yourself. There was no emotion on Su Jiangwo's face. He raised his hand and someone placed documents in front of the war gods. The war gods opened the file in front of them with a puzzled look on their faces. Their expressions were puzzled at first, because what was recorded was just a small investigation task. But as they continued to watch, their faces became solemn. I didn't expect the killing sect to appear again. And there are disaster species actually being used in a place like L-Town. I wonder if this will alert the A-level disaster beast in the Qingcheng disaster area. The gods of war were talking about it for a while, but Chang Zhengyang was confused because he saw Chang Xing's name on the document. Chang Xing? S-level talent? It should be just a name. Chang Zhengyang recalled the rebellious son who had contradicted him and shook his head in disdain. That rebellious son is just an F-level waste. Without his support, no one would want to upgrade now. When he thought of how Chang Xing had disobeyed him in the past, he couldn't help but feel angry. Fortunately, he thought of the well-behaved Chang Yun and finally breathed a sigh of relief. I've already reserved Yuner a level-up venue. With a week left until South China University of Martial Arts enrollment, this world is definitely large enough for Yuner to reach level 10. Chang Zhanshin? Chang Zhanshin. Just when Chang Zhengyang was distracted, shouts from the side interrupted his thoughts. Only then did Chang Zhengyang realize that everyone was looking at him, even Su Jiangwo. Seeing Chang Zhengyang distracted in such a situation, Su Jiangwo couldn't help but frown, and his intimidation was evident without him being angry. War God Chang, since the impact of sea-level disasters on A-level disaster beasts is unclear, how do you personally go to the Qingcheng disaster area and observe the movements of the A-level disaster beast, the red-eyed rabid dog? Ah, me? Chang Zhengyang hesitated subconsciously. He was only level 50, while the A-level red-eyed mad dog was level 55. He had no chance of winning against it. He was about to refuse, but seeing the look in Su Jiangwo's eyes, he had no choice but to agree. A sea-level disaster beast might not be attractive to an A-level disaster beast, but considering that the red-eyed mad dog hasn't advanced in years, we still need to keep an eye on its movements. If you make any moves and ask for help in time, other war gods will support you. Seeing Chang Zhengyang agree, Su Jiangwo withdrew his gaze and continued. After Chang Zhengyang was promoted to the god of war, he began to form cliques and expand his power, and no longer cared about upgrading. Several gods of war came from behind and surpassed him in level in recent years. This time it's a good opportunity to give him a lesson. Clear. At the same time, in the H-area adventurer camp. Is that it? After Chang Xing signed several documents, he asked curiously, shouldn't a confidential organization like this be more cautious when recruiting? Of course, it's not that simple. You're only a reserve, and whether you can become a regular soldier depends on passing another selection. But with your strength, the selection will be easy for you. Su Haoran's face was almost blooming with laughter. He patted Chang Xing's shoulder and explained seriously. Chang Xing is an awakener with talent above S level. If he is left outside, he will be snatched away by various forces. Now including Su Yenran, his group has 2 S-level players, which is a luxurious lineup. Thinking of this, Su Haoran could foresee that he would be able to act arrogantly in the administration bureau in the future. Su Yenran, who was standing by, was also excitedly taking credit for it with Gao Chan and the others, as if to say, see, he is mine, I brought him back. Gao Chan and the others were naturally happy to have new members joining. Especially after listening to Su Yenran's description, Chang Xing was calm and steady in his work, not arrogant or impatient, and was low-key in his personality, which was completely different from their stupid team leader. Should we promote him to be a team leader after he becomes a regular employee? Looking at everyone with their own ulterior motives, Chang Xing suddenly felt that his decision was too hasty. Right now, you and the girl are both newcomers who haven't been selected yet. There won't be any tasks assigned to you for the time being. After feeling secretly happy, Su Haoran regained his composure and continued. Speaking of the mission, he thought of something and couldn't help but shudder. This time, he let Su Yenran go because the investigation mission seemed simple. As a result, something almost happened. So easy. Chung Xing looked surprised, as if he was freer than he had imagined. Of course, there's not much to do on a regular basis. Most of the time, we're just adventurers. We will only be deployed if the Fallen cause an incident or threaten the base, but that will happen after you become regulars. Su Haoran showed his golden nameplate and said proudly, "But you two still have things to do now." Su Haoran paused, as if remembering something, and said to the two of them, "What's up? I was admitted to Wuhan University in South China." Su Haoran said lightly, "Wuhan University? Can we take the entrance exam to Wuhan University if we join the administration?" Of course, the identity of our Awakening Bureau is confidential. It will only be better if you have another identity as a Wuhan University student. It was Gao Chun who answered Chung Xing. For example, our current public identity is the Adventurers Guild's Dragon Squad and Investigation Team. Also, don't underestimate Wuda. You don't have much knowledge about disaster zones, disaster beasts, and awakened people yet. Being admitted to Wuda can make up for these shortcomings. Only when you graduate from Wuhan University can you be considered a strong person who can stand on his own. Gao Chen patiently explained Chung Xing's doubts. "Okay, I understand." After explaining everything and leaving a mobile phone to Chung Xing, Su Haoran and the others left. Next, they would participate in the follow-up work of cleaning up the disaster. Only Chung Xing and Su Yenran were left. "Hey, I'm being righteous enough to help you keep a secret, but you better not tell anyone my secret. That's not a secret at all. It's private at best." Chung Xing touched his nose, recalling something, and his gaze shifted downwards. Chapter 23. Coming to Purchase Goods. Area H Adventurers Camp. At this time, more and more people gathered in the camp, and most of them were adventurers who came back from outside one after another. When they asked each other, they found out that they were all persuaded to come back by the base troops. "Have you heard? Something big happened in the disaster area of L Town." "What's the big deal?" "What big deal could there be in an F-rank novice upgrade zone?" "I don't know. All I know is that the base troops have surrounded L Town. It's said that someone saw a C-rank disaster beast." Everyone was very curious about the guild's sudden ban on leaving through the H area gate, and people kept speculating. As an eyewitness to this incident, Chung Xing walked towards the counter slowly. "Hello. There are travel restrictions in effect at the gate to Area H. Adventurers below rank C are temporarily prohibited from leaving the city." Is that you?" The lady at the counter felt someone coming and thought someone was going out of town, so she spoke subconsciously. However, when she saw the face of the person, she recognized Chung Xing. "Isn't this the F-level newcomer who just registered today? It seems that he entered the disaster area alone. Did he come back secretly?" "Hello. I want to sell disaster beast materials." Chung Xing didn't waste any words and directly stated his purpose. However, his appearance attracted the attention of many people, including adventurers who had just returned and noticed him, as well as adventurers who knew Chung Xing when he first registered. When the latter heard what he said, he looked at the bags under his feet, and thinking of the fact that he had just registered as an F-level newcomer today, he couldn't help but laugh. "Isn't this the new guy who went out alone this morning? When did he sneak back? With all these bags and bags, you must have gone out to pick up rags." "Ha ha ha, that's possible. I guess it was his first time in a disaster area, so he got scared." The little incident at the time made many people pay attention to Chung Xing. After all, his appearance itself was impressive enough. The bored adventurers who were lingering in the camp focused their attention on Chung Xing as if they smelled some excitement. But there were also some unfamiliar adventurers who looked at Chung Xing's large and small bags of harvest and said in surprise, "With so many backpacks, how many disaster beasts did this person kill? It should be a team spoils and then handed over to him to deal with, right? But to have so much, that team is quite powerful." "What team?" "You don't know. He's an F-rank talent rookie who just registered today. He even entered the disaster area on his own this morning. How could he be disaster beast material?" The doubts from all around made the lady at the counter confused. In fact, She didn't quite believe that Cheng Xing would gain so much. Faced with doubts, Cheng Xing shook his head and without any nonsense, he took out backpacks one by one and poured the contents onto the counter. The previous moment, everyone's face was still half believing, half doubting or mocking. The next moment, their expressions froze without exception, and then they were dumbfounded, their eyes full of envy. The contents of several backpacks formed a small mountain on the counter, including quite a few pieces of equipment. This scene frightened the lady at the counter. She had never seen such a scene before. Even those experienced adventurer teams that stockpiled materials for a month or even half a year could not produce as much as the newcomer in front of them could. "Please hurry up. I'm in a hurry." Cheng Xing saw the counter lady who was lost in thought and reminded her. After being reminded by Cheng Xing, the lady at the counter finally reacted and quickly helped him count the items. The more she counted, the more frightened she became, because she could see that most of these materials were F-level rabbits, which meant that the person in front of her was most likely killed by her. After all, there have been some rich kids who privately purchased large amounts of materials and then passed them off as their own gains, but their materials are often uneven, mixed with materials from disaster areas around the world. However, she was even more shocked when she saw the E-level blood mantis material. However, her good professional ethics did not make her too panic. Instead, she quickly counted all the materials and equipment and gave a quote. "Hello, here are 574 F-grade materials, 6 E-grade materials, 11 F-grade equipment, and 1 E-grade weapon, with a total value of 3.87 million. Here is our detailed price list, you can check it out." The attitude of the lady at the counter became obviously more respectful. After the invasion of Doomsday, people's concept was gradually changing to respect the strong. Cheng Xing took a quick look at the price list and had no objection to the price. The Adventurers Guild's price was quite reasonable. Although it was a little lower than the black market, it was cleaner. 3.87 million has been transferred to your adventurer account and can be withdrawn from all banks in the base. After the lady at the counter collected the materials, she showed a screen in front of Cheng Xing. Every awakened person registers as an adventurer and also registers an account in the Adventurers Guild system. When they sell materials to the guild, the payment is directly transferred to their account. They can also use this account to directly purchase equipment and materials from the Adventurers Guild. At the same time, the mobile phone that had just been linked to his information also received a text message about the deposit. After processing the materials, Cheng Xing left the camp without staying any longer. After watching Cheng Xing leave, the adventurers who were watching the show around him finally reacted. "What did I just see? Oh my goodness! Hundreds of materials and some are E-grade. This is worth enough to buy my life. Where did this incredible newcomer come from? I don't think he's going to upgrade. He looks like he's going to buy more supplies." Most people were sighing, and only a small number of people who had mocked them at the beginning were embarrassed and had to leave in a hurry. As for the money in Cheng Xing's hands, they were only jealous and envious, but no one had any real ideas. Just kidding. They were just bored and wanted to have a good time. They are not stupid. If they really wanted to follow and rob, then we have to mention that the South China base has a complete set of laws. Moreover, this newcomer was clearly no ordinary person. There were people who lied about their talent level in the past. Strength was king. At the same time, South China base, Area A. In the basement of a luxurious villa, a figure was half kneeling. "Master, I messed up. If Cheng Xing were here, he would definitely find out that this person was the escaped spirit seed. It's okay. It's just that the people under you are useless. If you had a capable assistant, you wouldn't be like this." At this time, a gentle voice sounded in the basement, and another figure slowly walked out from the shadow of the basement. The red six-barreled mask on his face looked extremely dazzling under the dim light. Lu Tong gently lifted up the spirit seed and handed it to him with a document. "This is the junior disciple that your master has selected for you. Go and get in touch with him and try to persuade him to join the Holy Church. If you succeed, he will be a great help to you in the future. Yes, disciple will not fail again this time." Ling Zhong took the document and looked at it, muttering to himself. "A level gifted swordsman? Chapter 24 South China Number 4 Middle School. After leaving the camp, Chang Xing looked at the money in his adventurer account on his mobile phone and couldn't help feeling dazed. He had never had so much money in his previous life. It was worth it for him to endure all these years. After putting away his phone, he realized that he had returned to the downstairs of his residence. It was already past 9 o'clock in the evening. The streets were brightly lit and the aroma of various snacks wafted in the air. Goo! The rumbling sound from his stomach reminded Chang Xing that he seemed to have not had dinner yet. Now that you've made a fortune, you have to spend it. After Chang Xing plunged into the street, he soon saw a shop called Zhangji and walked in as if he was familiar with the place. Uncle Zhang. 2 large wonton noodles. Xiaoxing is here. Wow, I haven't seen you for a day, and you've become so arrogant. Okay, you wait. Hearing this, a middle-aged man walked out from behind the cashier counter at the door with a smile. The fatigue on his face dissipated a lot after seeing Chang Xing. He wiped his waist with his calloused hands and walked into the kitchen. Uncle Zhang quickly brought out 2 large bowls of wonton noodles and a large chicken drumstick from the kitchen. You're just like that street kid in my house. You just woke up and you wandered off somewhere. Haven't you eaten all day? Eat quickly. This meal is a celebration for your awakening. After Uncle Zhang put it down, he patted Chang Xing on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Hey, thanks, Uncle Zhang." Chang Xing didn't hesitate either. When he smelled the aroma of the wonton noodles, his appetite was immediately aroused and he started to eat them with relish. 3 years ago, Chang Xing just moved here and was alone, trying to survive in the city. One time he had no money to eat, and Uncle Zhang saw him and treated him to a bowl of noodles. After that, he asked his son Zhangchang to invite him to the store for noodles from time to time. Since then, he has fallen in love with Zhangji's wonton noodles. In this world where talent is paramount, Uncle Zhang is one of the few people who, knowing that he has an F-level talent, still treats him the same. Uncle Zhang. Where did Zhangchang go? After eating and drinking, Chang Xing asked about his best friend Zhangchang. I don't know where the street thug is going to go. Uncle Zhang gets furious when talking about Zhangchang. He hasn't come back the whole day since he woke up. When he comes back, he must let him taste the fried meat with belt. After a brief chat with Uncle Zhang, Chang Xing left this time. Zhang's restaurant returned to peace again. There were not many customers in the evening, so Uncle Zhang sat back at the cashier counter and read the newspaper to pass the time. It was almost 10 o'clock when Uncle Zhang got up, packed up and closed the shop. Hey, what is this? Uncle Zhang walked out of the counter and found a big bag in front of the counter. He opened it with confusion and was shocked the next moment. It was a big bag full of money with a note on it. Uncle Zhang picked it up and took a look at it and couldn't help laughing. Uncle Zhang, wonton noodles are delicious. Don't go bankrupt. This kid. Early the next morning, Chang Xing changed into a school uniform and carried a school bag. His style had changed. He no longer looked like he was hunting recklessly in the disaster area yesterday. Instead, he looked like an ordinary student. Hey, Chang Xing, come over and have breakfast before you leave. When he passed by Zhang's that day, a carefree voice called out to him. He saw a young man who was 1.85 meters tall, with thick eyebrows and big eyes, and looked somewhat like Uncle Zhang, waving at him. Zhangchang, where did you go yesterday? Seeing this, Chang Xing didn't hesitate and went straight to sit down opposite the young man. Uncle Zhang, same as always. Good. Uncle Zhang, who was busy in the kitchen, responded. At this time, the store was full of customers, many of whom were wearing the same clothes as them. Not long after, Uncle Zhang brought a bowl of wonton noodles. He and Chang Xing smiled at each other, and they tacitly agreed not to mention what happened yesterday. You two are in trouble. Could it be that we were switched in the hospital back then? Chang Xing, you are actually my father's son. Zhangchang looked at Chang Xing's bowl, which had twice as many wontons as his, and said something for no reason. But before he could finish his words, Uncle Zhang slapped him hard on the back of the head. Even eating can't shut your mouth. After saying that, Uncle Zhang went back to the kitchen and continued to work. Hiss, this strength. I am the biological child. Seeing Zhang Chong being beaten, Cheng Xing shook his head and lowered his head to eat noodles. Zhang Chong also told him what happened yesterday. Didn't Su Wenxuan, the vice class student, awaken his C-level talent yesterday? He invited the whole class out for dinner. Have you forgotten? Oh, it seems that's the case. Cheng Xing then remembered that after he woke up yesterday, Su Wenxuan did invite him, but he went to the Cheng family and did not attend. You missed a great show by not coming. What's wrong with you? Su Wenxuan actually wanted to take advantage of the party to confess to our class monitor. But the squad leader didn't even go. He prepared all those things by himself, but the squad leader didn't show up. Ha 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 ha. I'm dying of laughter. He doesn't even look in the mirror. How dare he, a C-level talent, pursue the class monitor with A-level talent? Listening to Zhang Chong telling what happened yesterday, a beautiful figure suddenly appeared in Cheng Xing's mind. Class monitor Chu Yanyan? The two of them chatted with each other and quickly finished breakfast, then walked towards school together. Along the way, Zhang Chong kept talking about how generous Su Wenxuan was yesterday. He treated them to lunch, went to karaoke, and didn't get home until very late. As more and more people in school uniforms gathered around, Cheng Xing and his friends soon arrived at South China No. 4 Middle School. South China No. 4 Middle School is a key middle school in District H. Although it is not as good as those middle schools in District A, it is already the best high school here. After joining the crowd, the two arrived at the classroom. Most of the people in the classroom had already returned. When they saw Zhang Chong and Cheng Xing, many of them were stunned and looked shocked. Cheng Xing? You're still alive. Am I seeing this right? What are you talking about? What's still alive? Zhang Chong looked at their strange reactions, his face full of confusion, and asked, Last night I heard from a friend from Class 4 that he saw Cheng Xing go to the disaster area alone. Me too. They also said Cheng Xing was dead. What? Cheng Xing went to the disaster area alone. Soon someone explained their confusion to them. When the other students who were unaware of the situation heard that Cheng Xing was going to the disaster area alone, they were all shocked and looked at him curiously. After they reminded him, Cheng Xing remembered the other students from No. 4 Middle School he met when he first registered. It was probably them who spread the news. Cheng Xing, why are you going to the disaster area? And you're going alone. Are you trying to save yourself? Zhang Chong then turned around and asked. Although none of them had been to the disaster area, they all knew a little bit about it and knew that it was best for newcomers to level up in a team. Of course, it's an upgrade. Look, I'm still fine, right? Cheng Xing spread his hands and said calmly, Still leveling up. With an F-level talent, I'm going to the disaster area alone. I'm just gonna go for a walk. Why are you pretending here? Just as everyone was wondering how Cheng Xing could have come back alive after soloing the disaster area, a disjointed voice came from the door. Chapter 25 Chu Yanyan. Everyone turned around and saw a handsome boy walking in with a look of disdain on his face, followed by a few followers. Su Wenxuan? Looking at the person who came, Cheng Xing had no expression on his face. He pulled Zhang Chong back to his seat. The deputy class leader is right. Everyone knows that you need to form a team to level up. Otherwise, it's no different from seeking death. Even for us C-level talents, we need to find 3 teammates to level up. He only has an F-rank general talent. Can he solo a disaster zone? If he wants to show off, he should at least act a little more skillfully, right? Seeing that Cheng Xing ignored him, Su Wenxuan raised his head slightly and gestured, and several followers behind him immediately spoke up. Upon hearing this, the other students in the class looked at each other in bewilderment. Based on the actual situation, they did not quite believe that Cheng Xing had gone out to level up, but their years of friendship as classmates told them that Cheng Xing did not seem like the kind of person who would lie. Su Wenxuan, what do you mean? Cheng Xing could sit still, but the hot-blooded Zhang Chong couldn't sit still and stood up slamming the table. Before Cheng Xing could say anything, they came up and started to accuse him. Su Wenxuan probably overestimated his status in the class and didn't think that his words did not incite other students in the class. Nothing serious, just telling the truth. I formed a team yesterday and worked hard all day to reach level 3 in the novice disaster zone. Now you tell me that Chung Xing, with his F-level talent, can solo the disaster zone? I don't believe it. Su Wenxuan spoke with pretentiousness, emphasizing especially the words level 3 and F-level talent. At this time, the other students in the class were attracted by him, but they were more amazed at his level. It's no wonder you're the deputy class. You've already reached level 3. Unlike me, I can't even find anyone to team up with. Just be content. I only have an F-level talent for flipping spoons, so I can't even upgrade. Su Wenxuan was obviously very pleased with these envious looks. He looked up at Chung Xing proudly. However, Chung Xing never even looked at him. Chung Xing's disregard made Su Wenxuan angry and embarrassed. Before he awakened, he was surpassed by Chung Xing in both academic performance and appearance. After awakening, he finally surpassed him in talent level. He would not let go of this opportunity to humiliate Chung Xing. Su Wenxuan, why are you blocking the way here? Just as Su Wenxuan was thinking about how to humiliate Chung Xing, a voice as clear and pleasant as a spring breeze, but with a hint of impatience, came from behind him. Hearing this, Su Wenxuan's expression changed instantly. He put on what he thought was the best and gentlest smile, turned around and said softly, "Yen Yen, you're here?" At this time, Chung Xing looked up and saw a tall figure standing at the door of the classroom. Her height of 1.72 meters is even shorter than that of some boys. Her loose school uniform is stretched out, and her figure like a lotus flower shows her youthfulness and liveliness. Her delicate oval face has soft lines, her eyebrows are curved, and her peach blossom eyes are rippling with light. The teardrop moles at the corners of her eyes are particularly eye-catching. She has a beautiful nose, white lips, and white teeth. She looks particularly youthful and charming without any makeup. A single ponytail reveals a snow-white neck, which appears sparkling in the morning sunlight. Hearing Su Wenxuan's address, Chu Yanyan frowned and said coldly, "Su Wenxuan, please be respectful and call me by my full name, and please move aside. The teacher is coming." When Su Wenxuan heard this, it was as if a basin of cold water was poured on his head. The smile on his face froze, and he had no choice but to step aside stupidly. After entering the classroom, Chu Yanyan glanced in the direction of Chung Xing without leaving a trace. When she saw him in the classroom, the faint sadness on her face immediately disappeared. Then a bright smile bloomed on her face, and she walked briskly back to her seat. Yesterday she also heard that Chung Xing went to the disaster area, so she went to his house immediately. When she found that no one was at home, she worried all day. But I'm glad he's okay now. But all of this fell into Su Wenxuan's eyes. He looked at Chung Xing with a gloomy face and clenched his fists. Finally, it was only after being reminded by his little follower that he returned to his seat. Soon, a middle-aged man wearing black-framed glasses slowly walked into the classroom. "Don't relax after you've awakened. You still have to take the exams. Not everyone can embark on the path of an adventurer. Studying is also a good way out. If you prepare well for the exam, you can get into an ordinary university." Li Jie looked at the students with different expressions under the podium and spoke earnestly. Young people nowadays are all focused on becoming adventurers and attending Wuhan University without paying attention to their studies. All right, here are the college entrance exam application forms. Go fill them out and prepare for the exam in 7 days. After saying that, Li Jie asked Chu Yanyan to put down the form in her hand, and soon everyone got the application form. After the apocalyptic invasion and the restoration of order, the college entrance examination system also changed. The biggest difference is that the college entrance examination will be held 1 week after this awakening. Especially universities, which are divided into ordinary universities and Wuhan University. The former is similar to the previous life and requires a written test. It is reserved for those who have not awakened their combat talents. The latter does not require any written test, but only requires level, combat power, or combat talent above level A. Because of the rampant disaster beasts, there are many more people who want to be admitted to Wuhan University than to ordinary universities. Okay, you guys can discuss it among yourselves. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Remember to be down to earth. After saying that, Li Jie sat on the podium, opened the thermos cup he carried with him, and started drinking tea. The school has taught them everything it can in these 3 years, and the rest is up to them to choose their own destiny. Cheng Xing, what are you going to choose? Zhang Chong sat next to Cheng Xing and turned his head to ask curiously. I'm planning to take the entrance exam for South China University of Technology. Ah, are you really planning to apply to Wuhan University? Hearing Cheng Xing's answer, Zhang Chong couldn't help but widen his eyes and asked in a low voice in disbelief. Because since he met Cheng Xing, Wuhan University has always been in his plan, but after awakening the day before yesterday, he thought Cheng Xing would give up this idea. And you? This time it was Cheng Xing's turn to ask Zhang Chong. Unlike him, Zhang Chong's awakened talent was sea-level spiritual infusion, not a combat talent. Where else can I go? Of course, it's Jiangda. Zhang Chong waved his hands and said helplessly. Fortunately, although Zhang Chong looks careless and like an honest man, his grades have always been among the best in the class. Did I hear correctly? You, Cheng Xing, are the only one who wants to apply to Wuhan University. Just as Cheng Xing and Zhang Chong were chatting, a little follower who was closer to them suddenly shouted loudly. For a moment, it attracted everyone's attention. Did I hear you right? You're an F-level talent, and you still want to apply to Wuhan University? Where do you get your confidence from? Hearing this, Su Wenxuan immediately seized the opportunity. He spoke in a sarcastic tone, subtly inciting many classmates. From time to time, strange looks fell on Cheng Xing. Cheng Xing, your academic performance has always been among the top in the class. It should be easy for you to get into a regular university. Why are you so obsessed with Wuhan University? The confused head teacher also tried to persuade him, saying that he knew Cheng Xing's awakening talent and that he was indeed not suitable for taking the entrance exam to Wuhan University. If you have a useless talent like yours, you should stay home instead of embarrassing yourself. Su Wenxuan continued to pursue his victory. Hearing this, Cheng Xing's face showed impatience. At first he just thought Su Wenxuan was a mosquito, but he didn't expect that he would continue to disgust him, so don't blame him for getting angry. Bang! What's his talent? Just a cold shout filled with anger rang out, which frightened Cheng Xing so much that he was stunned for a moment and slowed down his movements. Not only Cheng Xing but everyone else was shocked. It was then that everyone realized that it was the squad leader Chu Yanyan. But at this moment, Chu Yanyan's face was full of anger, and she was no longer as quiet as before. What right do you have to laugh at Cheng Xing's aspirations? Do you dare to apply for the exam yourself? You spend your parents' money, use your superior talent to belittle others. Do you think you are more noble than them? Although Cheng Xing has an F-level talent, he is brave enough to take on challenges and never belittles others. In my opinion, he is much better than you. Listening to Chu Yanyan's words, Cheng Xing couldn't help but doubt himself. Is your brother Xing so outstanding? But Chu Yanyan's words still made others realize that Cheng Xing has always been like this. He seems to treat everyone the same, without favoritism or discrimination. If you ask him for help, he will help you in any way he can, and he is also handsome. On the contrary, Su Wenxuan, relying on his status as a rich second generation, looks down on others all day long. In comparison, Cheng Xing is really better than Su Wenxuan except for his lack of talent. Su Wenxuan, I've told you many times, sit down quickly and don't do it again. Finally, seeing that something was really wrong, the head teacher quickly spoke up to smooth things over and finally calm Chu Yanyan down. It is necessary to appease her. Chu Yanyan has awakened an A-level talent. It can be said that she can definitely go to South China University of Technology. The school treats her like a treasure. Su Wenxuan stared at Cheng Xing not far away with a dark face. Just wait. I'll find someone to kill you. Chapter 26. Will it still count if I marry you when you grow up? South China No. 4 Middle School, Class 1, Grade 12. Everyone filled out their application forms and handed them to Li Jie. When Cheng Xing finished filling it out and handed it in. Cheng Xing, are you really not going to think about it? Li Jie couldn't help but persuade him again. After all, Chang Xing's talent level is really too poor, and the possibility of him being admitted to Wuhan University is really too low. Teacher, you know me well. Since I dare to apply for the exam, I must have confidence. Chang Xing knew that Li Jie was actually doing this for his own good, and had taken good care of him over the years. Seeing this, Li Jie had nothing to say. Chang Xing was good in every way, except for one thing that was a bit troublesome. Once he made up his mind about something, he would not change it. After making their choices, the class was divided into two groups. Those who chose Puda University needed to continue staying in school to prepare for the exam, while those who chose Wuhan University did not need to do so. Instead, they needed to seize the time and go out to upgrade. Walking out of the classroom, Chang Xing discovered that a beautiful figure had been waiting there for a long time. Want to walk together? Chu Yanyan walked quickly forward, a pleasant fragrance accompanied by words, and rushed to Chang Xing. Without waiting for Chang Xing to refuse, he pushed Chang Xing away. The intimate actions of the two made the others jealous. They all feel bad about not having a good-looking appearance. Okay, stop pushing me. I can walk by myself. Feeling the push from the two small hands behind him, Chang Xing spoke helplessly. This girl used to be very quiet and kept her distance from him, but after awakening her talent, she became a much bolder person, like a completely different person. Chu Yanyan then poked her head out from beside Chang Xing with a smile, jumped to the side, and walked side by side with Chang Xing. But they were still in school after all, so Chu Yanyan did not continue to make any overly intimate gestures. The two of them were a handsome man and a beautiful woman, and they attracted a lot of people's attention along the way. A teacher who was passing by thought it would have a bad influence and was about to step forward to separate them, but when he saw it was Chu Yanyan, he gave up the idea. Chang Xing saw all this and couldn't help but tease him. She's truly an A-level talent. Even teachers have to avoid her when they see her. This genius halo is so dazzling. I need to stay away from it. Upon hearing this, Chu Yanyan's nose twitched, and she raised her little pink fist and punched Chang Xing's arm hard. Chang Xing pretended to avoid and put some distance between himself and Chu Yanyan. Then she hurriedly chased after him. The two of them had a little fight and then left the school. Outside the school gate, a low-key, unknown car was parked on the side of the road. When Chu Yanyan came out, a middle-aged man in a suit immediately came out and greeted him. Mississippi. Uncle Lee, I want to walk for a while. Chu Yanyan did not get into the car to be greeted by the bodyguards, but spoke instead. The bodyguard glanced at Chang Xing standing beside him. Although a hint of disdain flashed across his eyes, he quickly concealed it. This person is now famous in the Chu family. There was no other reason. After the eldest daughter awakened her A-level talent, she said that she would not marry anyone else but him, which shocked the entire Chu family, especially when the investigation revealed that Chang Xing was just a waste with F-level talent. The entire Chu family was opposed. But Chu Yanyan's A-level talent gives her the right to decide her own life, and no one can influence her. After the bodyguard reminded everyone to be careful, he returned to the car. Immediately, Chu Yanyan pulled Chang Xing towards his home, and as for the car, she kept a distance and followed behind them. At the same time, not far away, in a BMW sedan, Chang Xing and his partner were walking side by side. Their playful actions from time to time caught Su Wenshuan's eyes, making him jealous. Over the years, he has been trying his best to gain Chu Yanyan's favor. Just when he was about to succeed, Chang Xing suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Son, is that the eldest daughter of the Chu family you mentioned? Yes, but now someone wants to ruin my plans, Su Wenshuan said, gritting his teeth. Don't worry, your dad will help you. I'll help you take her down. By the way, that poor boy doesn't have any background, right? Father Su touched his beer belly, narrowed his eyes, and said coldly, Dad, I want him dead. Rest assured. Father Su calmed his son down and then made a phone call. Hey, check for me information about Chang Xing from South China No. 4 Middle School. Quickly, he's just an orphan, right? Okay. After Su's father found out Chang Xing's background, he made another call. Sang Biao, I want you to kill someone. On the street. Chang Xing, does what you said about marrying me when you grow up still mean it? Chu Yanyan tilted her head and looked at Chang Xing intently, her eyes filled with anticipation like stars. Hearing this, Chang Xing's face froze and he touched his nose awkwardly. He also didn't expect that the little girl he had rescued after sneaking out of the orphanage would be brought back to the orphanage and he would tease her because she was cute. I didn't expect that something bad would happen. That's right, Chang Xing and Chu Yanyan have known each other for a long time. That was the first winter after the base was built. Due to the influence of doomsday, heavy snow fell in the south, making all the southerners excited and dancing. Chang Xing couldn't help it and secretly ran out of the welfare home to play in the snow. In the end, he was chased all over the place by the caregiver. In order to avoid the caregiver, he hid in a dilapidated factory building. Unexpectedly, Chu Yanyan was found shivering with cold in a small room there. Afterwards, he took Chu Yanyan back to the welfare home. During the time in the welfare home, Chang Xing was very playful and liked to tease this cute little girl whenever he had nothing to do. After living in the welfare home for nearly half a year, Chu Yanyan's parents finally found her. Only then did they know that when the base was first built, there were many powerful forces and undercurrents in the base. Chu Yanyan was kidnapped by the Chu family's enemies. When the Chu family compromised and the other party was unable to produce Chu Yanyan, her parents thought their daughter was dead and went to war with the other party regardless of the consequences. It took them half a year to destroy the other party. Later, I found out that Chu Yanyan had been placed in an orphanage. On the night she was brought back to the Chu family, Chu Yanyan cried bitterly. Chang Xing had no choice but to promise to marry her when she came of age, and only then did the little girl go home obediently. Unexpectedly, we met again many years later in the first year of high school. At that time, she had grown up and still remembered what happened back then. However, we kept a very good distance from each other, neither far nor close. We were friends at most, and we never mentioned the final agreement. They had been living in peace like this for 3 years until he awakened. Today, Chu Yanyan openly favored him and was even furious at Su Wenxuan's targeting. Didn't you forget about this? Chang Xing laughed. You don't know, my family are all stubborn and they say it's not a good match. I had no choice but to endure it, and it finally made it to the day of awakening. Now I'm an A-level talent, and their opposition is useless. Upon hearing this, Chu Yanyan seemed to have thought of something, and her face immediately puffed up with anger. She complained while waving her little pink fists. Puff! Chang Xing looked at Chu Yanyan's cute appearance and couldn't help laughing, and then he was attacked by a wave of pink fists. The two of them played and joked all the way, and before they knew it, they arrived at the old city. The roads in the old city were narrow and the traffic suddenly became heavy. The bodyguard following behind was stuck on the road and watched Chang Xing and the others disappear from his sight after turning a corner. The bodyguard quickly got out of the car and chased after them, but there was no trace of them. Can you try something new? In a dark alley where the bodyguards couldn't see him, Chang Xing protected Chu Yanyan behind him and asked boredly while looking at the gangsters who surrounded them. It's the same old thug-like trick again. Chang Xing himself isn't annoyed, but the readers are. Chapter 27 Goodbye. The Fallen next. Are you going to say someone wants to buy one of my legs? Then don't blame you guys. If you want to intervene, blame me for offending someone I shouldn't have offended. The thugs looked at each other, and the butterfly knives in their hands, which were originally wielding very quickly, flew out. How did he know what they were about to say? Seeing their reactions, Chang Xing knew that he had guessed right. As for who did it, it was so hard to guess, he couldn't even guess who it was. Chang Xing's behavior was completely unconventional, which made Chu Yanyan behind him cover her mouth and not dare to laugh out loud, not looking nervous at all. Chu Yanyan's actions attracted the attention of the gangsters. When they saw the face of the person behind her, their eyes were filled with naked greed. What a hot girl! This deal is a big win. Wait! I'll go first. Why should you go first? Listening to the explicit words of these hooligans, Chang Xing frowned and his face was frosty. The temperature of the entire alley seemed to drop a lot. Strange, why is it so cold? A gangster said in confusion. Girl, step back. Chang Xing said coldly, preparing to attack, but was quickly grabbed by Chu Yanyan. Let Uncle Li teach them a lesson. Don't take any risks. Chu Yanyan said with a worried look on her face that these gangsters were all at level 3 or 4 in terms of their aura. If Chang Xing took action, they would definitely be injured. Seeing her worried look, Chang Xing smiled bitterly. It seemed that he had to find a time to come clean. At least he had to fabricate an S-level talent. Otherwise, everyone would come up to mock him. He really doesn't like playing the pig and eating the tiger, although it feels good. Okay, I have confidence. I'll tell you later. Chang Xing patted the back of Chu Yanyan's hand and spoke softly. Seeing Chang Xing's confident eyes, Chu Yanyan finally let go. You're the one who wants to be a hero, right? Fuck. Do you think this is a novel? What the hell are you doing? Let's do it together. The gangsters were so angry when they saw the two of them being so naughty that they attacked together. Bang! 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 The next moment, 4 of the 5 thugs flew out, hitting the wall with a very dull sound. After landing, they curled up in the ground and let out wailing sounds. The other gangster didn't rush forward immediately because he squatted down to pick up the knife. Wait for me? The gangster picked up the knife and stood up. Before he could finish his words, he found that all his companions had fallen to the ground. He swallowed back the words he had not finished speaking. Looking at Chang Xing, who was so close to him, the gangster felt his legs go weak. His mouth became dry, and he could hardly hold the knife in his hand. Brother, do you want to watch the show? I'm really good at knife handling. He was responded with a fist as big as a sandbag. Looking at the 5 hooligans lying on the ground, Chu Yanyan jumped and ran to Chang Xing's side. Her peach blossom eyes widened. Surprise turned into stars in her eyes, and her little mouth was shaped into an O in surprise. When did Chang Xing become so powerful? Pa pa pa. However, before Chang Xing could explain, applause rang out from the dark alley. The next moment, a figure fell from the sky and landed in the alley. This person's aura was not strong, about level 8. But when he saw this person, Chang Xing couldn't help but frown. He sensed murderous intent. The man before him had killed someone before. This business is a loss. Sang Biao looked at his men lying on the ground and said with regret. Although he didn't know Chang Xing's level, the employer told him that the target this time was just a student who had just awakened. How strong could a student without any background be? So he sent his younger brother to solve the problem without thinking much. I didn't expect it to flip over. There was no choice but for him to take action. Boy, you are wrong. No one is buying your legs. But to buy your life. Sang Biao said viciously, then quickly stepped forward and grabbed Chang Xing's neck. He was so fast that Chu Yanyan, who was standing beside him, hadn't reacted yet. So beautiful. It's such a shame you all have to die. Sang Biao glanced at Chu Yanyan and couldn't help but sigh. Only then did Chu Yanyan begin to panic. Do you know that awakened people are forbidden from killing each other in the base? However, Chang Xing gently patted the back of Chu Yanyan's hand, looked at Sang Biao who was close by, and said calmly, So what? I wouldn't bother to kill him if he wasn't an awakened. Sang Biao obviously didn't notice anything. He grinned and said coldly, Oh, so you killed a lot? Of course, you are not the first, and you will not be the last. No. Are you trying to trick me? Sang Biao was talking in a cheerful manner when he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Why was this guy so calm? Go to hell. Sang Biao decided not to waste any more time talking, but to exert force with his hands, trying to strangle Chang Xing to death. However, Chang Xing's neck was like steel, and no matter how hard he tried, there was no response. You are not an ordinary person. At this moment, Sang Biao's heart was filled with alarm. He wanted to retreat at the first moment, but then a hand was placed on his wrist at some point, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. Who are you? Sang Biao started to panic. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is that you are in big trouble. Chang Xing said coldly. He didn't expect to meet the Fallen so soon. You are the Fallen. At this time, Chu Yanyan, who had been silent behind the scenes, finally reacted and looked at Sang Biao in surprise. The identity of the Fallen was revealed. and both Changxing and Sang Biao were shocked. Changxing didn't expect that Chu Yanyan also knew about the existence of the fallen. Taking advantage of Changxing's distraction, Sang Biao gritted his teeth, pulled out a knife from his waist, and slashed at his arm fiercely. Escape with a broken arm? Sang Biao covered his arm and retreated quickly. But the next moment, Changxing's breath leaked out and his figure caught up in an instant. You're actually level 13. After Sang Biao sensed Changxing's aura, the system's feedback appeared. The word level 13 above Changxing's head made him feel despair. This time it's over. The next moment, a huge force came from his waist. Sang Biao felt as if he was hit by a truck. He was shot out and flew several meters away. He lay on the ground and lost his combat ability. At this time, Chu Yanyan also saw Changxing's level. She opened her cherry lips slightly, and her beautiful peach blossom eyes were full of surprise. After dealing with Sang Biao, Changxing restrained his aura and the level above his head disappeared. Miss! At this time, Uncle Li, who had been looking for Chu Yanyan for a long time, finally came over after hearing the noise of fighting. He was relieved to see that Chu Yanyan was safe and sound, especially when he looked at the gangster on the ground and Sang Biao with a broken arm. He was frightened. I couldn't help but look at Changxing with gratitude. At this moment, a cell phone rang. Chu Yanyan and Uncle Li subconsciously took out their cell phones, only to find that they were not their own numbers. Then, under their surprised gaze, Changxing took out his mobile phone. Hello? Changxing? Have you offended anyone recently? Someone has looked up your identity information. Chapter 28, The Su and Chu Families. Here's what happened. Changxing told Su Haoran on the other end of the phone the whole story. When he heard Changxing mention the fallen, his face suddenly changed. Where are you now? Wait for me there. I'll bring people over right away. Su Haoran, who was on the other end of the phone, learned Changxing's location, left a word and hung up. Team leader? What happened? Gao Chun looked at Su Haoran, who had a bad expression on his face, and asked hurriedly. Changxing encountered a fallen in the base. I'll go take care of it. What? Fallen? Why are there so many fallen? Hearing this, Gao Chen's face changed. For those of them who have joined the Awakening Administration over the years, it is considered a lot if they can receive one fallen case a month. How come Changxing encountered the second thing so soon? It's okay, it's just a level 8 fallen. I'll take some people to deal with it. I hope it's not a big deal. Su Haoran also felt strange, but Changxing had already controlled the person, so he did not bring other members of the group with him. Su Haoran moved very quickly. After Changxing waited for more than 10 minutes, an Audi came rushing over and then stopped steadily on the side of the road. Soon he saw Su Haoran get out of the car and walk away with big strides. Huh? Xiaoyan? Why are you here? Su Haoran recognized Chu Yanyan at a glance. Brother Su. Master Su. When he saw the visitor, Uncle Li's expression changed slightly and he quickly greeted him. This person is not the eldest son of the Su family. I heard that he joined the Awakening Management Bureau. Why is he here? Could this matter involve the fallen? Call me Team Leader Su. Su Haoran was obviously unhappy with him calling him Young Master. Do you know each other? Changxing was surprised by how familiar the two of them were. The Su and Chu families are the forces behind the establishment of the Awakener administration. Of course we know them. And Chu Yanyan is also a reserve member of the Awakening Management Bureau, just like you. Su Haoran nodded and couldn't help but sigh that the world is really small. Same as me? Changxing, are you also planning to join the Awakening Management Bureau? Chu Yanyan quickly grasped the key point of Su Haoran's words, her eyes full of stars. She couldn't help but grab Changxing's arm and asked happily. This is a bit too coincidental. Changxing touched his nose. It turned out that the Chu family behind Chu Yanyan had such great power. Su Haoran looked at the intimate eyes of the two people. His eyes narrowed slightly, as if he had discovered something shocking. After all, he had also heard about the Chu family's daughter's incredible move yesterday. With a little thought, it was hard not to be interested. The one with the biggest change in expression was undoubtedly Uncle Li standing next to him. his face full of shock. What is the Awareness Management Bureau? It is a place where only those with top talents and combat power are qualified to join. If it is said that all awakened people who can enter Wuhan University are geniuses, then those who can become the reserve of the Awakening Management Bureau are all people who are called geniuses by the geniuses of Wuhan University. Okay, let's get down to business first. Su Haoran did not forget the important matter. After a few brief greetings, he walked into the alley. It is indeed a fallen one. The experienced Su Haoran quickly caught the subtle murderous aura from Sang Biao. Although this murderous aura could be hidden, it could not be hidden as Sang Biao had been knocked unconscious. He immediately began to check the things on Sang Biao's body, and soon he found a mask from him. One tube, another murder sect. When Cheng Xing saw the mask in Su Haoran's hand, he couldn't help but let out a sigh. Team leader, are there so many members of the slaughter sect in the South China base? No, on the contrary, the killing cult has been active in the Huaxi base and has also expanded to the surrounding bases. But after the purge of the South China base and the establishment of the Awakening Management Bureau, it disappeared for a long time. The cases of degenerates we received before were all unorganized degenerates. Su Haoran looked at the mask in his hand, wondering what he was thinking. But the frequent appearance of the fallen is definitely not a good thing. Thinking of this, Su Haoran asked again, Cheng Xing, have you offended anyone recently? After all, Cheng Xing said on the phone that these people said they were invited by someone. Su Wenxuan from our class, if nothing unexpected happens. Cheng Xing said a name without hesitation. If there was anyone who had really offended him and was still alive, then the only one left would be Su Wenxuan. Su Wenxuan? Did he do it? When Chu Yanyan heard the name, her brows furrowed slightly. Team leader, please investigate first and don't wrongly accuse anyone. Su Haoran nodded. They were a formal organization and they had to rely on evidence to make a judgment. Then I will take this person away, and I will notify the police to deal with those people. Su Haoran took out a ring from his waist, put it directly around Sang Biao's neck, and then threw him in the back row like a chick. You should leave now while no one is paying attention to this place. Su Haoran came and left quickly. He leaned his head out of the car window, gave the two of them a few words of advice, then stepped on the accelerator and drove away. In the car, Su Haoran took out his cell phone and dialed a number. Hey, bro, what are you doing? Sister, you have a rival and he's very strong. Miss, we should go back. Uncle Lee, whose emotions had gone through a roller coaster of emotions, spoke quickly. He was almost scared to death today. How could he meet a fallen person when he went out for a walk? Basically, after this incident, his career as a bodyguard was over. Afraid that something might happen later, he just lowered his head and spoke to Chu Yanin. Maybe he saw that what happened today was too outrageous, or maybe he saw that Cheng Xing was so powerful. This time she didn't refuse. After learning that Cheng Xing wanted to apply to Wuhan University, Chu Yanyan was worried that he did not have enough resources to be promoted. So she wanted to use the Chu family's resources to help Cheng Xing upgrade. But now it seems that they are no longer useful. With Cheng Xing's level 13, it was easy for him to enter South China University of Technology. On the contrary, she was far behind Cheng Xing. Thinking of this, Chu Yanin quickly stepped forward, and while Cheng Xing didn't react, she raised her toes slightly and touched the water like a dragonfly. Cheng Xing, see you at the Wuhan University exam. After saying that, the girl turned and left, hurriedly and briskly. When Cheng Xing reacted, the pink on the girl's face could not fade away for a long time in his mind. The love that had been suppressed for many years was so bold and passionate that even the experienced Cheng Xing could hardly resist it. South China Base, Area C. In a wealthy mansion in District C, Su Wenxuan kept pacing back and forth, his face full of anxiety. Dad, isn't it done yet? Su Wenxuan couldn't help but speak. Su Jiqiang slowly cut open a cigar and lit it. After taking a puff, he slowly spoke. Don't worry, I know exactly how strong Sang Biao is. That Cheng Xing is doomed. You're not young anymore, but you're still so impulsive. How are you going to take over my job in the future? After saying that, he did not forget to hit Su Wenxuan. Dad, You don't know how he treated me. He's a poor boy, and he dared to snatch Chu Yanyan from me. I will make him die. Su Wenxuan recalled what happened today, his face filled with anger. You! Bang! Su Jiqiang wanted to continue teaching his son a lesson, but unexpectedly, with a loud bang, their door was kicked open and a group of police rushed in. After discovering the Su father and son, he took them down without saying a word. What are you doing? I'm very familiar with your deputy director. Don't worry. The deputy director also wants to talk to you about what you did. These people didn't waste any time and took the two away directly. Chapter 29. How can you swear? A week passed in a flash. Cheng Xing stayed in the base and did not go out to upgrade. Because of the previous L-Town incident, the traffic restrictions at the H District Gate lasted for a week. Although there were also restrictions at other gates in the novice disaster area, with Cheng Xing's level, the benefits of going to the novice disaster area were not great. The nearest E-level upgraded disaster area happened to be right at the gate of Area H. The rest of the E-level disaster areas were either far away or too dangerous. Fortunately, Cheng Xing's level was already high enough, so he didn't force it. He just ate and drank, and when he encountered problems he didn't understand, he called Su Haoran. I learned from Su Haoran that Su Yanran's decision was correct. After a week of cleaning up L-Town, the A-level disaster beast, the red-eyed rabid dog, in the Qingqing disaster area was actually attracted here. It is said that the red-eyed rabid dog seriously injured the god of war who was observing the Qingqing disaster area at that time. It was the other war gods who came later who joined forces to repel the red-eyed mad dog, and the war god was able to save his life. After this incident, the Qingqing disaster area expanded completely, and there was no novice upgrade disaster area at the gate of Zone H. After packing up his things, Cheng Xing went straight back to school. Those who apply to ordinary universities all take the exam on campus, while those who apply to Wuhan University need to go to Area A to take the exam. Most students are usually sent to Area A by the school. Of course, there are also students from well-off families who drive there by themselves. At this time, Cheng Xing said goodbye to Zhang Chong, got on bus number 1, and waited quietly. There were quite a few people in their class who applied for Wuhan University today, more than 40 of them. After getting on the bus, some of them were full of confidence, while others were worried. After setting off, Li Jie, as usual, began to give some morale-boosting speeches along the way. Buses shuttled through the streets, and the scenery outside the windows gradually became more luxurious. Many students who had never left District H could not help but be attracted by the scenery outside and exclaimed in amazement. Soon a towering tower reaching into the clouds came into view. As the bus drove on, it gradually grew larger and finally drove into the huge dome building under the tower. The examination venue of South China University of Technology is right at the headquarters of the Adventurers Guild. As the bus pulled up, students got off and lined up in front of the bus according to their classes. Chu Yanyan, who had arrived here early in the morning, also returned to the team and stood behind Cheng Xing. The students of number 4 middle school couldn't help but exclaim in surprise when they saw the huge building in front of them. A bunch of bumpkins. However, their performance was seen by the students in Area A who had already arrived, causing a burst of laughter. Upon hearing this, the students of number 4 middle school immediately glared at them and started cursing impulsively. But the students in Area A never looked them in the eye. It's simple. They are students of South China number 1 middle school and enjoy the best educational resources in the South China base. Compared with number 4 middle school, whose grades vary greatly, number 1 middle school has an average grade of above 7, and the lowest is grade 5. Number 4 middle school is actually not bad, at least it is about the same as other schools. It's just that the conditions of number 1 middle school are too good and the resources are too heavily tilted, which leads to this situation. In the end, the noise was really loud, and the teacher had to speak up to calm them down, and the situation was finally under control. Is that Su Wenxuan? After the little episode, everyone quieted down and waited for the exam to begin. Suddenly, someone with sharp eyes in class 1 noticed a person rushing towards them in the distance. Yes, it's the deputy monitor. Strange. Why did Su Wenxuan come here by taxi? Seeing that Su Wenxuan actually took a taxi here, Many people couldn't help but feel puzzled. Su Wenxuan is usually high profile and always asks his father to pick him up and drop him off at school in a BMW. He will miss such an important exam today. But when they saw Su Wenxuan clearly, they were all stunned. At this moment, Su Wenxuan no longer looked like the rich kid he used to be. His hair was messy and his eyes were bloodshot. He was like a completely different person. Looking at the strange looks from his classmates, Su Wenxuan felt extremely humiliated. After being taken away by the police again, through investigation, it was found that his father was imprisoned for suspected murder, but he was released because there was no evidence to prove that he was involved. Originally, Su Wenxuan wanted to tell his mother about the matter, but unexpectedly, all the partners of his company terminated their cooperation at the first opportunity. At the same time, all the dirty things the company had done before were exposed. Overnight, his family went bankrupt, and his mother had already absconded with the money and no one knew where she was. Then his teammates who had upgraded themselves also kicked him out of the team because they no longer had resources provided by the Su family. He joined the temporary team out of arrogance, but he couldn't let go of his rich second-generation heirs and was blocked one after another. After a week, his level remained unchanged. "It's all because of you. It must be you." Su Wenxuan's eyes were red as he stared at Chang Xing in the crowd. He then drew a dagger from his waist and rushed towards him. He thought about it over and over again but couldn't understand why he just attacked a poor student and ended up making him so embarrassed. Seeing Su Wenxuan rushing towards them with a weapon in hand, the other students around them couldn't help but exclaim. Then, before he could rush to Chang Xing, he was pinned to the ground by the Chu family's bodyguards. He struggled frantically with a ferocious look on his face, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move the bodyguard at all. A knife attack occurred in the examination room. The examination qualification will be cancelled and the case will be handled by the police. The huge noise attracted the attention of the examination room staff, who imposed a direct punishment and handed Su Wenxuan over to the on-site police. The farce ended here. Only the frightened crowd were left, whispering to each other. Suddenly, Chang Xing felt a strange gaze. He slowly turned his head and found that the source of the gaze was actually from number 1 middle school. Only then did Chang Xing see the man, who turned out to be the fake young master he had met not long ago, Chang Yun. At this time, Chang Yun was in the team of number 1 middle school, surrounded by envious eyes, and many girls were flirting with him. Chang Yun looked at Chang Xing provocatively with disdain on his face, as if to say, "You see, this position of mine should be yours, but now it belongs to me." He didn't expect to meet Chang Xing here. After all, with an F-level talent, how could he possibly be admitted to South China University of Technology? But since they met, he didn't mind humiliating him again. "Chang Xing, what are you looking at?" Chu Yanyan noticed Chang Xing's gaze and asked in confusion. "Nothing, just looking at a shabby." Pfft. Chang Xing isn't some idiot. He's the son of the god of war. Chu Yanyan followed Chang Xing's gaze and couldn't help laughing. As the daughter of the Chu family, she naturally knew Chang Yun. Can't the son of the god of war be a shabby? He's not a rare species. Chang Xing shrugged and said disapprovingly. "Yeah, it's not a rare species. It's just a coincidence that his last name is Chang." "Chang Xing, could you be a relative of theirs? How can you curse?" Looking at Chu Yanyan beside Chang Xing, a hint of jealousy flashed across Chang Yun's eyes. Compared with Chu Yanyan, those girls who were flirting with him seemed much duller. But soon, the feeling of being the center of attention helped him regain some confidence. Through the upgrade field that Chang Zhengyang found for him, he reached level 10 within a week. With his talent, he was sure to be the top scorer in this exam. The only pity is that Chang Zhengyang was seriously injured in the disaster area and has not recovered yet. Otherwise, he would have humiliated Chang Xing in front of them. South China Base, Area A Adventurers Guild Headquarters. As time passed, the entrance examination for South China University of Technology officially began. A cordon was erected around the Adventurers Guild, and from now until the end of the exam, no one was allowed to enter or leave. As the candidates entered, they came to a huge exhibition hall. In the middle of the hall was a podium, and behind it were 100 machines that no one had ever seen before. There was an examiner next to each machine. If anyone could tell that something was wrong, it was a young man not far from the podium, because he was sleeping soundly on a recliner. Seeing the candidates enter the examination room, an examiner carefully ran to the young man and woke him up. Let's get started. The young man, looking unkempt, sleepy and yawning, walked up to the podium with a reluctant look on his face. Originally thought it would be a long speech, he unexpectedly glanced at the people in the audience and spoke sparingly. Teacher Chun, you need to explain to them the content of the exam and the score structure. Seeing this, the examiner beside the podium frowned and whispered a reminder. Why did Wuhan University in South China send this tutor to preside over the exam this year? Huh? That's so troublesome. Chun Yifei looked embarrassed, as if the simple hosting job was a cost to his life, and he refused without even thinking. Teacher Chun, your teacher has spoken. If you don't work hard, you'll have a hard time when you get home. Seeing that Chun Yifei was unmoved, the examiner had no choice but to use his ultimate move. Hearing the 3 words, your teacher, Chun Yifei's body trembled, and then he spoke slowly. Well, let me give you a brief introduction. This session will be divided into 2 parts. 1. The confrontation with the disaster beasts. 2. The level. The former accounts for 90% of the score, and the latter accounts for 10%. When this statement was made, many candidates were shocked because the content of this year's exam had changed a lot from previous years. Previous exams were mainly based on level, supplemented by talent. Therefore, many candidates with E or even F grades can be lucky enough to enter South China University of Technology by spending a lot of money to hire someone to upgrade them. But I don't know why such a big change was made this year. Even talent is no longer part of the exam. Wait, each campus will enter the virtual training machine at the back in batches and begin the battle against the disaster beasts. You must last 1 minute to pass, and 3 minutes for full marks. Chun Yifei pointed to the 100 machines neatly arranged behind him and continued. Level, 1 point per level. 10 is the maximum score. After saying that, Chun Yifei glanced at the examiner next to him, and after seeing him nod, he continued. The exam begins. After saying this, he returned to his sleepy look, walked to a recliner nearby and fell asleep. Other staff members also took over the next task and began to call the roll one after another. Mai Xiaowen, Ularu. Soon, the names of the 100 candidates were called one after another, and they stepped out of the line and entered the virtual training machine at the back. The results of the first batch of candidates came out faster than expected. Just a few seconds after they entered the virtual reality, someone's training machine emitted a red light and withdrew. What the hell? Let's fight against E-rank disaster beasts. I died before I could even see clearly. It's not fair. I wasn't mentally prepared. Who knew I'd have to fight an E-rank disaster beast? The failed candidate was filled with anger and shouted in defiance. Unfair? If you encounter disaster beasts that are far stronger than you in the disaster area next time, you can try to tell them that it's unfair and ask them to let you go. The leading examiner glanced coldly at the eliminated candidates and said, Fair? Exams themselves involve an element of luck. So what's there to say? The candidate who was scolded was speechless and had to return to the queue dejectedly. When the others saw them come back, they hurried up to ask for details. The examiners did not stop this. No matter how much information you have, it will be difficult to pass this level without sufficient strength. After that, people failed and quit one after another, but everyone looked indignant. A minute passed quickly, and there were only 3 people still holding on. Soon they also failed and withdrew, and the examiners next to them counted the scores. After these 3 people returned, they were envied by their companions. The examination is still going on, with groups coming forward to take the test. Soon it was Chu Yanyan and Su Yanran's turn. Come on. Cheng Xing patted Chu Yanyan's little head and encouraged her. Name, Chu Yanyan. Level 11. 300/20,000. HP, 350. Attributes. Strength 11, Agility 11, Constitution 11, Spirit 68. Free attribute points 0. Talent. A-level magic mastery effect. Magic effect increased by 50%. Skills: B-level thunder, B-level mage shield, C-level levitation, C-level giant fireball. Recalling the luxurious panel that Chu Yanyan had shown him before, Changxing knew that this exam would not be difficult for Chu Yanyan. If someone acts as a meat shield to attract the hatred of the disaster beasts, Chu Yanyan can deal with several E-level disaster beasts at the same time. If she were alone, she would probably have to be more careful, but it would still be a bit difficult to solve the problem within 3 minutes. After all, equipment is not allowed in the exam, so many attributes are missing. As expected, Chu Yanyan successfully scored full marks and happily shared it with Changxing. Next batch: Changxing, Chang Yun. Soon the next batch began to be called, and coincidentally, Changxing and Chang Yun were in the same batch. When Chang Yun heard this, his face was full of contempt. God helps me. Thinking of this, Chang Yun looked at Changxing provocatively. However, when he saw that Changxing was only chatting with Chu Yanyan and ignoring his gaze, his face suddenly became gloomy. You're just a little more handsome, right? Wait till I see how I'll trample you under my feet. See if you still have the nerve to be a gigolo. Changxing was in position soon. His machine was still very close to Chang Yun's. Seeing the provocative look coming at him again, Changxing continued to ignore it. Chang Yun was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Name, ID card. Changxing. Changxing handed the ID card in his hand to the examiner for verification. After checking that everything was correct, the examiner put a helmet on his head. Begin the exam. With the examiner's command, the machine started. Changxing felt the surrounding environment change, and in the blink of an eye he found himself in the ruins of a city. The smell in the air is exactly the same as that in the disaster area, and the authenticity is extremely high. Changxing pinched his arm and found that the pain was not the same as in reality. But that's true. After all, those candidates were basically killed by the disaster beasts. If the pain was the same, they would not have the energy to shout after failing. Please choose your weapon. Soon an interface appeared in front of Changxing, with various weapons arranged on it. Embroidered spring blade. Changxing decisively chose the weapon that was most similar to the blood mantis fang, and immediately a most basic F-level embroidered spring knife appeared in his hand. At the same time, a figure quietly appeared in front of him. Oh, you're a regular customer. Looking at the familiar blood mantis in front of him, Changxing couldn't help but grin. It seems that he is quite lucky. Chapter 31, you have a talent above S-level, right? After a minute, only a dozen people in Changxing's group were still holding on. But soon some people were eliminated and left after being graded by the examiners. In the end, only Changxing and Chang Yun were left on the field. Am I seeing things right? Changxing can actually hold on for this long. Isn't he an F-level talent? How is that possible? I couldn't even last more than 10 seconds. Isn't he cheating? At this time, everyone who knew Changxing, except Chu Yanyan, expressed doubts. Their discussions were immediately heard by others nearby, and the voices of doubt became more and more intense. Examiner, I'm reporting that person for cheating. How could he, with an F-level talent, have persisted for so long? Exactly. I have a level 5 E-grade talent, and I couldn't even last 20 seconds. How on earth could he last so long? We demand a thorough investigation. The huge noise woke up Chun Yifei, who was sleeping nearby. He stood up with an unhappy look on his face and glanced at the examiner sitting in Changxing's position. After receiving the signal, the examiner immediately began to check the machine, but after checking it for a while, he shook his head at Chun Yifei. Quiet! The machine is fine. Following Chun Yifei's cold shout, a huge pressure emerged from all directions and fell on the candidates. At this time, the rank above his head appeared in everyone's eyes. Level 49. Everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. They didn't expect that this unkempt-looking man was only one step away from being a god of war. After Chun Yifei spoke, no one dared to question him anymore. After seeing Jing, Chun Yifei restrained his breath and continued to lie down to sleep. Aren't all instructors level 20 to 30? Level 49 mentor, who is this person? So strong. I don't know. I've never heard of such a strong instructor at South China University of Technology. For a moment, the focus of everyone's discussion shifted to Chen Yifei. Soon the time came to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. At this time, Cheng Xing suddenly opened his eyes and took off his helmet. His action made the examiner beside him stunned. Is this guy finished? He looked at the machine but saw no red light of death failure. Student, please wait a moment. There is something wrong with the machine. The examiner looked puzzled and quickly stopped Cheng Xing, who was about to leave. See, I knew there was a problem. Exactly. How could an F-class person last this long? I think the machine settings were wrong. Maybe they assigned him an F-class disaster beast. Seeing this, the others immediately felt happy about the misfortune, but having learned from the previous experience, they did not dare to make loud noises again. Seeing these people's reactions, Chu Yanyan remained very calm, because he knew Cheng Xing's level, and it was impossible for him to fail at his level. Ha 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 ha! I succeeded! At this moment, Cheng Yun's feet turned red, and he failed to exit after being stuck at 3 minutes. This time, full marks were easily obtained. As soon as he took off his helmet, he found that Cheng Xing was still there, and his face changed in fright. How could Cheng Xing, with an F-level talent, be ahead of him? But Cheng Yun soon discovered the problem. Although he got full marks, not many people complimented him. Instead, they all criticized Cheng Xing. Cheating? No wonder it lasted this long. Thinking of this, Cheng Yun's face was full of disdain. Trash is trash. How dare you dream of getting into Wuhan University by cheating? This is ignorant of the immensity of heaven and earth. Cheating in the college entrance examination is illegal, and Cheng Xing is completely finished this time. Look, the instructor is up. He's a level 49 boss. No trick can escape his notice. Hey, he can't run away now. At this time, someone noticed that Chen Yifei stood up again and walked towards Cheng Xing and the others. The candidates were filled with gloating voices. Especially those who failed the exam are more aggressive. Listening to their words, Cheng Yun was shocked. This person was actually a level 49 instructor? He is only one step away from being a god of war, and he looks to be only in his 20s or 30s. Looking at Chen Yifei walking straight towards him, Cheng Yun suddenly thought of something. Could it be that seeing my good performance, they are planning to accept me as their student? For a moment, Cheng Yun couldn't help but imagine that with the help of Chen Yifei and the resources of the Cheng family, he could rise to the top in one step and become the youngest god of war in the South China base. Thinking of this, Cheng Yun felt elated. Seeing Chen Yi flying towards him quickly, he quickly straightened his clothes, straightened his back, and spoke confidently while extending his hand to shake hands. Teacher, my name is Cheng Yun, and I am the son of the god of war Chang Zhengyang. His sudden action scared Chen Yifei so much that he looked at Cheng Yun with a strange expression. Cheng Yun did not take the outstretched hand and hurriedly walked away, which made the words he had not yet finished speaking stuck in his mouth. Chang Zhengyang's son? Is he mentally ill? After a minute, only a dozen people in Cheng Xing's group were still holding on. But soon some people were eliminated and left after being graded by the examiners. In the end, only Cheng Xing and Cheng Yun were left on the field. Am I seeing things right? Cheng Xing can actually hold on for this long. Isn't he an F-level talent? How is that possible? I couldn't even last more than 10 seconds. Isn't he cheating? At this time, everyone who knew Cheng Xing, except Chu Yanyan, expressed doubts. Their discussions were immediately heard by others nearby, and the voices of doubt became more and more intense. Examiner, I'm reporting that person for cheating. How could he, with an F-level talent, have persisted for so long? Exactly. I have a level 5 E-grade talent, and I couldn't even last 20 seconds. How on earth could he last so long? We demand a thorough investigation. The huge noise woke up Chen Yifei, who was sleeping nearby. He stood up with an unhappy look on his face and glanced at the examiner sitting in Cheng Xing's position. After receiving the signal, the examiner immediately began to check the machine, but after checking it for a while, he shook his head at Chen Yifei. Quiet. The machine is fine. Following Chun Yifei's cold shout, a huge pressure emerged from all directions and fell on the candidates. At this time, the rank above his head appeared in everyone's eyes. Level 49. Everyone couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. They didn't expect that this unkempt-looking man was only one step away from being a god of war. After Chun Yifei spoke, no one dared to question him anymore. After seeing Jing, Chun Yifei restrained his breath and continued to lie down to sleep. Aren't all instructors level 20 to 30? Level 49 mentor, who is this person? So strong. I don't know. I've never heard of such a strong instructor at South China University of Technology. For a moment, the focus of everyone's discussion shifted to Chun Yifei. Soon the time came to 2 minutes and 40 seconds. At this time, Cheng Xing suddenly opened his eyes and took off his helmet. His action made the examiner beside him stunned. Is this guy finished? He looked at the machine but saw no red light of death failure. Student, please wait a moment. There is something wrong with the machine. The examiner looked puzzled and quickly stopped Cheng Xing, who was about to leave. See, I knew there was a problem. Exactly. How could an F-class person last this long? I think the machine settings were wrong. Maybe they assigned him an F-class disaster beast. Seeing this, the others immediately felt happy about the misfortune, but having learned from the previous experience, they did not dare to make loud noises again. Seeing these people's reactions, Chu Yanyan remained very calm, because he knew Cheng Xing's level, and it was impossible for him to fail at his level. Ha 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 ha! I succeeded! At this moment, Cheng Yun's feet turned red, and he failed to exit after being stuck at 3 minutes. This time, full marks were easily obtained. As soon as he took off his helmet, he found that Cheng Xing was still there, and his face changed in fright. How could Cheng Xing, with an F-level talent, be ahead of him? But Cheng Yun soon discovered the problem. Although he got full marks, not many people complimented him. Instead, they all criticized Cheng Xing. Cheating? No wonder it lasted this long. Thinking of this, Cheng Yun's face was full of disdain. Trash is trash. How dare you dream of getting into Wuhan University by cheating? This is ignorant of the immensity of heaven and earth. Cheating in the college entrance examination is illegal, and Cheng Xing is completely finished this time. Look, the instructor is up. He's a level 49 boss. No trick can escape his notice. Hey, he can't run away now. At this time, someone noticed that Chun Yifei stood up again and walked towards Cheng Xing and the others. The candidates were filled with gloating voices. Especially those who failed the exam are more aggressive. Listening to their words, Cheng Yun was shocked. This person was actually a level 49 instructor? He is only one step away from being a god of war, and he looks to be only in his 20s or 30s. Looking at Chun Yifei walking straight towards him, Cheng Yun suddenly thought of something. Could it be that seeing my good performance, they are planning to accept me as their student? For a moment, Cheng Yun couldn't help but imagine that with the help of Chun Yifei and the resources of the Cheng family, he could rise to the top in one step and become the youngest god of war in the South China base. Thinking of this, Cheng Yun felt elated. Seeing Chun Yi flying towards him quickly, he quickly straightened his clothes, straightened his back, and spoke confidently while extending his hand to shake hands. Teacher, my name is Cheng Yun, and I am the son of the god of war Chang Zhengyang. His sudden action scared Chun Yifei so much that he looked at Cheng Yun with a strange expression. Cheng Yun did not take the outstretched hand and hurriedly walked away, which made the words he had not yet finished speaking stuck in his mouth. Chang Zhengyang's son? Is he mentally ill? It doesn't even look like him. Could he have been picked up from outside? How pathetic. Chun Yifei's whispered words made Cheng Yun's smile freeze, and his expression instantly turned gloomy. After going around Cheng Yun, he came in front of Cheng Xing. Cheng Xing was a little surprised at Chun Yifei's level, but he didn't show too much emotion. After all, he hadn't been upgraded yet. He dared to point at Cheng Zhengyang's nose and scold him, so how could he be afraid of a level 49 mentor? Chun Yifei couldn't help but look up to Cheng Xing when he saw his performance. After all, there were very few newcomers who could remain so calm when facing him. After asking the examiner to confirm that there was no problem with the machine, Chun Yifei couldn't help but frown. He turned his head and looked at Chang Xing carefully. After a while, Chang Xing's level appeared above his head. When the level difference between awakened people is too great, even if the low-level awakened person restrains his aura, his level will still be seen through by the high-level awakened person. Seeing Chang Xing's unexpected level, Chun Yifei was stunned. Then an incredible answer appeared in his mind, completely dispelling the sleepiness in his eyes. You killed the E-rank disaster beast? Chun Yifei asked with a strange look on his face. Can't I kill you? Chang Xing scratched his head and said in confusion. The exam requirements don't say that you can't kill virtual disaster beasts, right? However, the weapon level is still too low, and there is no protective gear, otherwise Chang Xing could solve the problem in 1 minute. Seeing Chang Xing's admission, Chun Yifei felt like he had discovered a treasure. This could explain why he was able to come out early and there was no failure prompt. Immediately, Chun Yifei took the document containing the student information from the examiner, looked at the information on it, and said with a puzzled look on his face, F-rank? Are you kidding me? You're level 13, and you killed an E-level disaster beast by yourself. You have a talent above S-level, right? Chun Yifei's next words made Chang Yun open his eyes wide, his face full of disbelief. What? How could he be an S-level talent? Hashtag 32 Chapter 32. Top scorer in the martial arts examination. Teacher, did you see it wrong? Chang Yun looked incredulous and questioned Chun Yifei. How could Chang Xing have an S-level talent or above? If he had an S-level talent, how could he possibly be separated from the Chung family? How could he be? Trash is obviously more suitable for him. Are you teaching me how to do things? Chun Yifei glanced at Chang Yun coldly, as if an invisible pressure fell on him, scaring him so much that he quickly shut his mouth. Seeing Chun Yifei so confident, Chang Yun's expression changed from gloomy to bright. If the Chung family knew that Chang Xing was an S-level or higher talent, everything I have now will be taken away by him. No, they can't know about this. Absolutely not. After retorting to Chang Yun, Chun Yifei put on another face and looked at Chang Xing with more and more favor. Since we don't know why Chang Xing didn't use the S-level or above admission qualification, but the level of 13 means that he was alone in the disaster area, so we can rule out the possibility that he is a family member or the offspring of the god of war. In other words, he is a wild genius with S-level or even SS-level talent. Thinking of this, Chun Yifei's mind suddenly appeared the figure of his teacher. He couldn't help but tremble. He looked at Chang Xing again and suddenly he had an idea. The teacher has extremely high requirements for accepting students. I'm her only student for so many years. If I find her another student, so after you scold him, will you stop scolding me? I'm such a fucking genius. After thinking for a while, Chun Yifei raised his hand, patted Chang Xing on the shoulder, and said seriously, Chang Xing, remember to come to me when you enroll. I'll recommend a teacher to you. The admiration in his eyes was visible to the naked eye. Everyone was shocked and looked at Chang Xing with envy. All those who had been pessimistic at the beginning were now silent, and no one dared to speak. Teacher, this is not good, right? Why call me mentor? It's strange. Just call me Brother Fei. He looked half dead the moment before, but the next moment Chun Yifei turned into the big brother next door and started chatting with Chang Xing in a familiar manner. Ahem, Mr. Chun. The exam isn't over yet. The examiner on the side saw that the situation was not going in the right direction and quickly spoke up to remind them. This interrupted Chun Yifei, who was talking. Seeing this, he stopped and let Chang Xing return to the team. Before leaving, he gave Chang Xing an expression that showed that he was right. Teacher Chun, how do you rate him? The examiner was confused, but due to Chun Yifei's identity, he had to continue asking. 100 points. It must be 100 points. A perfect score of 90. After a brief argument, the examiner brought up Chun Yifei's teacher, and only then set Chang Xing's score at 90 points. Chang Yun gritted his teeth at this scene. Hey, why hasn't this person left yet? Candidates, you should go back. The next batch of exams is about to begin. Seeing that Chang Yun was still there, Chun Yifei immediately signaled the examiner to continue the test, and he returned to the recliner to continue sleeping. When I returned to the team, the people from Class 1 immediately surrounded me. Chung Xing, you actually have an S-level talent. You lied to us for so long. That's right, Chung Xing. How did you go from F-level to S-level talent? Can you teach us? Chung Xing glanced at the SSS-level talents on his panel, did not correct them, but just nodded and said, I don't know actually. I just went home and took a nap after awakening, and the next day I became an S-level talent. Maybe it's a second awakening. Chung Xing spoke out the speech he had prepared long ago. Although second awakening is rare, it does happen. Almost 1 in a million people will have a second awakening after experiencing certain things. For example, someone once had his head hit, and after recovering, his talent was upgraded. There was also an old man who suffered from Alzheimer's disease and forgot his talent. After recovering, he remembered his talent incorrectly and upgraded. However, the second awakening of these people usually does not upgrade much, usually to level 1, and a few to level 2 or 3. It is rare for someone like Chung Xing to be promoted from F-level to S-level in one go. Okay, let's all go back. Seeing more and more people gathering around, Li Jie quickly spoke. At this time, Li Jie was in high spirits. 2 students in their class scored full marks, and even number 1 middle school had no class that could compare with them. After maintaining order, Li Jie saw several teachers who had sneaked in from other schools, and his targets were Chung Xing and Chu Yanyan. Alarm bells rang in his heart, and he hurried over to hold them back. What if the poaching ends up hitting his face? After escaping from the siege, Chung Xing couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He is not used to being looked down upon before, but now being the center of attention. Hey, I knew you could do it. Chu Yanyan, who knew Chung Xing's strength and had always believed in him, spoke with a smile. Although she only now knew that Chung Xing had an S-level talent or above, she understood Chung Xing very well. He was a person with no background at all, and suddenly awakened an S-level talent or above, which would inevitably attract the covetousness of others. In history, it is not uncommon for S-level talents to die before they can grow up. Seeing Chu Yanyan's genuine happiness for him, Chung Xing felt warm in his heart. He grinned and raised his hand to pat her little head. At the same time, on the other side of China, when Chang Yun returned to the class, everyone's eyes were on Cheng Xing, and they ignored him. Feeling the huge gap between before and after, Chang Yun gritted his teeth and his face became extremely ugly. He stared at Chang Xing in the distance, his fists clenched. Just keep being so proud, you won't get very far. Chang Yun suddenly thought of something. A strange glint flashed across his eyes, and his expression relaxed a lot. In the subsequent exams, many students scored full marks one after another. Upon closer inspection, they were basically children of family members with good talents and plenty of resources. The level test is much simpler. The virtual disaster beast has already screened out most people. Those who pass the test later just need to release their breath to the examiner to check their level and then register. Of course, Chung Xing ranked first with a level of 13, while Chu Yanyan ranked second with level 11. An exam that determines the trajectory of one's life has come to an end. Before returning home, Chun Yifei came to find Chung Xing and told him to come to him after he enrolled in school, and also hinted that he should introduce his teacher to him. Teacher of a level 49 awakener? Interesting. Hearing that there was a teacher behind Chun Yifei, Chung Xing was obviously surprised. He had to admit that a teacher who could teach such advanced students did pique his interest. Okay, I'll go. After getting Chung Xing's reply, Chun Yifei finally felt at ease to let him leave. As the candidates left, the huge exhibition hall gradually became quiet again. Only then did Chun Yifei take out his mobile phone. Explain. A word came impatiently from the other end of the phone. Teacher, I found a big treasure for you. Are you itchy? How is that possible? I found a good seedling. I think he might be an SS level talent. Chun Yifei couldn't help but shudder and quickly explained. Hashtag 33 Chapter 33 My son Chang Yun has the potential to be the top scorer in the martial arts exam. After the exam, the results will be sent back to the school immediately. Chang Xing also jumped up and became a celebrity in South China No. 4 Middle School with Chu Yanyan. The principal personally took them back to school and only let them go after giving them a series of commendations. Here, here. As the two of them walked out of the school gate, they saw Zhang Chang waving at them. Originally, his classmates planned to go out together, but he refused because he thought it was troublesome. Since Chang Xing was not going, Chu Yanyan naturally had no desire to go, and in the end she just made an appointment with Zhang Chang at Zhangji. Congratulations on being admitted to Wuhan University. Zhang Chang raised his glass. You're not bad either. You went to South China University. Chang Xing smiled happily and responded. Zhang Chang was admitted to Huazhong University without any trouble. It is the best general university in the South China base. Chang Xing was genuinely happy for his best friend. The three good friends clinked glasses and talked about the future. When Chang Xing returned home, it was already evening. As soon as I sat down, my cell phone rang. Congratulations, Chang Xing, on being admitted to South China University of Martial Arts. But how did you come up with the idea of taking the exam? Su Haoran's voice came from the phone, along with the congratulatory voices of Su Yenran and the others. Then why didn't you tell me that talents above S level can be admitted? Chang Xing asked back seriously. As for the fact that talents above S level are eligible for admission, Chang Xing certainly knows. But when he awakened, he was at F level and everyone thought he was S level. If he wanted to qualify for admission, he would have to show proof on the panel, and then his true talent level would be exposed. Although his boast was exposed last time, no one seemed to believe it, which made Chang Xing very confused. He wondered whether the SSS level talent had a deeper meaning. Before getting the answer, Chang Xing chose to continue hiding. Only the cards that are hidden well are called trump cards. Didn't I say that? After hearing what he said, Su Haoran on the other end of the phone scratched his head and hesitated. Didn't he tell Chang Xing? Oh, the process is not important, as long as the result is good. Su Haoran quickly laughed and continued. I almost forgot about the important matter. The selection process for regularization has begun. Pack your things in a few days and we'll come pick you up. I see. Chang Xing narrowed his eyes slightly, finally being able to witness the so-called selection. Area A of South China Base, the God of War's residence. Bang, bang, bang. The servants of the Chung family were lined up in 2 rows at this time. When Chung Yun got out of the Maybach, with the sound of salutes, colorful ribbons fell from the sky. Congratulations, young master, for becoming the top scorer in the martial arts exam. The servants followed the words they had been trained to say and blessed Chung Yun in unison. Obviously, they were unaware of the reform of the martial arts exam and had not inquired about the results of today's exam. Seeing this, Chang Yun's face couldn't help but darken. The smiles and congratulations from the servants around him gradually changed in his eyes, as if they were all mocking him. It's time to change the servants. This batch is too stupid, Chang Yun thought to himself. Then he walked past the servants with an expressionless face and went straight into the villa. Strange. Why do I feel that the young master is not very happy? Maybe you don't like our surprise? How could that be? The young master used to like this the most. He said it made things lively. A sharp-eyed servant noticed that something was wrong with Chang Yun, and they looked at each other, not knowing what to do next. Finally, after seeing him return to the house, they dispersed on the spot. My dear son, you are finally back. When Lu Chunyen saw Chang Yun coming back, she immediately walked forward with a smile. Immediately, Chang Yun changed his expression. A friendly smile bloomed on his face, and he threw himself into Lu Chunyen's arms. Thank you for your hard work today. I asked the servants to prepare a large table of your favorite dishes. Lu Chunyen patted Chang Yun on the back and led him to the restaurant. Chang Zhengyang had been waiting on the main seat for a long time, but his face was pale and he was obviously still seriously injured. Let me see this year's top scorer in the martial arts exam. After Chang Yun sat down, Lu Chunyen couldn't help but hold his face and said proudly. Chang Zhengyang, who was sitting on the main seat, also turned his head to look at him, a look of relief on his face. According to previous martial arts exams, Chung Yun's level and talent made it a sure thing that he would be the top scorer. They often boasted to others that Chung Yun had the potential to be the top scorer in the martial arts exam. Hearing this, the smile on Chung Yun's face froze instantly. After a while, he said awkwardly, "Dad, Mom, the martial arts exam has been reformed this year. Although I got full marks, I'm not the top scorer. I'm sorry to disappoint you." Chung Yun looked remorseful and lowered his head, not daring to look at them. "What? You're not the top scorer?" When Chung Zhengyang and the others heard that Chung Yun was not the top scorer, their faces turned ugly. They had blown all their big words. But when they saw Chung Yun's face full of self-blame, they softened their hearts again. "It's okay. It's not your fault. It must be a problem with the martial arts exam reform. There's nothing wrong. Why are you changing it?" Lu Chunyen was the first to step forward to comfort Chung Yun. "I'd like to see who changed it." Chung Zhengyang seemed to have found a way out and quickly took out his cell phone. "Hello? Director Yao? Why are they reforming the martial arts exam just like that? Our original martial arts exam was so good. Why did we have to change it? This is not conducive to the selection of talents." Chung Zhengyang questioned the deputy director of the Education Bureau on the other end of the phone in a tone of accusation. "Ah? City Lord Su proposed it? That's a good change, everything's fine now." However, after he heard the explanation from the other end of the phone, his expression changed and the tone of his reply gradually weakened. For a moment, the restaurant fell into deathly silence. "No, I have to see who can be better than my son." Embarrassed Chung Zhengyang immediately thought of something and picked up his phone to look at the rankings of this year's martial arts exam. "Dad, don't." Hearing this, Chung Yun's face changed again. He was about to speak to stop him, but it was too late. Chung Zhengyang found the ranking of this martial arts exam and looked up one by one. He soon discovered Chung Yun's name, tied for third place with 5 or 6 other people, all of whom he had heard of. If he is not a member of a family, then he is the descendant of the god of war. However, when he saw the second place, Chu Yanyan, his face changed again. He then remembered that the daughter of the Chu family seemed to be the same age as Chung Yun. Thinking of this, Chung Zhengyang couldn't help but be distracted. If Chung Yun and Chu Yanyan could get married, the Chung family would be on the rise. This matter requires long-term consideration. When he came to his senses, he saw the name of the top scorer in the martial arts exam. Chung Xing? How is that possible? Chung Zhengyang widened his eyes and looked at the name on the phone in disbelief. Seeing his big reaction, Lu Chunyen also looked at him curiously. When he saw the words Chung Xing, he had the same reaction as Chung Zhengyang. "Yuner, who is this Chung Xing?" They looked at Chung Yun together. "Not him." Chung Yun shook his head without blushing or beating his heart. "No? Oh, it seems that's not the case. This Chung Xing has an S-level talent or above. How could he be that F-level waste? But since there are people with S-level talents taking the martial arts exam, it's understandable that you, Yuner, can't get the top spot." After seeing the rankings, Chung Zhengyang and the others comforted Chung Yun with a clear conscience. "By the way, Yuner, I have good news for you. I have made great contributions to the base this time. I have secured a selection spot for you in the Awakener administration. You will attend the event in a few days, and then try to get close to a girl named Chu Yanyan. Hashtag 34 Chapter 34. Poaching? South China Base, Area H. Chung Xing put on the previous set of equipment, holding a knife in one hand and a bag in the other, and waited quietly downstairs. Soon, a military jeep appeared at the end of the road, standing in stark contrast to the surrounding vehicles. The people in the jeep quickly spotted Chung Xing and quickly stopped beside him. "Get in the car." The car window rolled down, and Su Haoran, wearing the windbreaker he wore when they first met and sunglasses, spoke coolly. The other members in the car couldn't help but shake their heads and smile bitterly. Su Haoran usually liked to flirt with girls and act cool, and he was not serious at all. After Chung Xing got in the car, before he had time to say hello to the other members of the group, Su Haoran stepped on the accelerator, and the jeep roared and rushed out. Looking at the direction the vehicle was heading, Chung Xing felt more and more familiar. Soon, the gate to Area H appeared in front of us. The selection is no longer at the base? Chang Xing couldn't help but let out a light exclamation. Of course not at the base, but you'll know exactly where it is when the time comes. Gao Chen chuckled and replied, Don't worry, with you and Su Yatu's strength, there won't be any accidents in this selection. Li Manman thought Chang Xing was nervous and spoke quickly. If Chang Xing and Su Yenran, both S-level, fail to pass the selection, then there will be no newcomers in their aesthetic management bureau. By the way, Chang Xing, this is for you. Su Yenran suddenly remembered something, took out a box from her arms and handed it to Chang Xing. For me? Chang Xing looked puzzled. He took the box, opened it and suddenly realized. Inside the box there lay an exquisite ring. Snow Wolf Soul. Quality, D grade. Effect. Agility +3 strength +2. Only then did Chang Xing remember that Su Yenran had asked him for help in exchange for a D-level equipment. How embarrassing. We are all friends. No, then give it back to me. Chang Xing said no, but his hands moved very skillfully to change the equipment in his hands and put on the Snow Wolf Soul. Su Yenran couldn't help but roll her eyes. After the jeep drove into the camp, Gao Chun got out and registered at the counter before driving out of the base. As he went deeper, Chang Xing discovered the unusualness of this jeep. The low-level disaster beasts encountered on the road were frightened and fled from their original places and hid far away after noticing the jeep. Hee. Think it's amazing, right? The shell of this car is made of materials from sea-level disaster beasts, and it has the effect of driving away low-level disaster beasts. Seeing that Chang Xing had noticed something, Su Yenran gave him some scientific information. After all, the disaster area was vast, and it was impossible for an awakened person to run in and out of the disaster area on foot. After the basic adventurer team reaches a certain level, they will choose to purchase such a disaster area vehicle. However, as the level of materials changes, the effect and price will vary greatly. Although Chang Xing had heard of this, it was his first time experiencing it. After all, such a car was a bit unaffordable even for a small team. The disaster area outside Q City. The first group of people participating in the selection have arrived here in advance. The disaster beasts within a radius of 1 kilometer have been cleared out by the strong men of the Awakening Management Bureau, and many strong men are still keeping watch in the dark. Chang Yun looked at the people participating in the selection and couldn't help but be shocked. There is no other reason. Anyone who can come here is undoubtedly the top talent of Jiangnan Base. The lowest talents are all above B level, and the levels of all members are above level 10. Soon Chang Yun spotted a graceful figure in a robe among the crowd. When Chang Zhengyang showed him Chu Yanyan's photo a few days ago, he realized that she was the girl who had always stayed next to Chang Xing in the examination room. Even if you have talent, do you have the means to participate in this kind of selection? Chang Yun looked around and sneered when he didn't see Chang Xing. No matter how high your talent is, it will be useless without resources. Chang Yun narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at Chu Yanyan, who was greeting people in the distance. If I snatch her away, Chang Xing will definitely look very happy. Since he can win the love of Chang Xing's parents, he can naturally snatch Chu Yanyan's away. Chang Yun thought to himself, tidied himself up, put on a gentle smile, and walked forward like the big brother next door. Miss Chu? What a coincidence. You're also here to participate in the selection for the Awakening Management Bureau. Chu Yanyan was startled by Chang Yun's sudden appearance. After seeing the person coming, she frowned slightly. Why is this person here? When she was taking the martial arts exam, she felt that Chang Xing hated this person. In response to his approach, Chu Yanyan nodded slightly out of the upbringing of the Chu family. Chang Yun was stunned by Chu Yanyan's cold reaction. He saw Chu Yanyan talking and laughing with other people. Why is he treated differently? Miss Chu, let's team up together later. I'm an A-level talented swordsman and can serve as your front line. Chang Yun quickly regained his smile and continued. Before coming, Chang Zhengyang had already found out for him that this selection required a team of 3, and Chu Yanyan's talent was positioned as a back row wizard. This talent could help her block the disaster beasts and create space for her to output. He couldn't think of any reason for her to refuse. No need. I already have a team. A hint of impatience appeared on Chu Yanyan's face, and she refused without thinking. How is that possible? I just watched you for such a long time, and I didn't see you talking to anyone about forming a team. Chung Yun spoke subconsciously, but he soon regretted it. When Chu Yanyan heard that someone had been watching her secretly, her face was immediately filled with disgust. Do I need to tell you who I'm teaming up with? Pervert. After saying that, Chu Yanyan retreated repeatedly, trying to stay away from Chung Yun. I didn't mean to, I just wanted to. Seeing this, Chung Yun tried to persuade her to stay and prepared to catch up with her. However, before he could finish, a jeep appeared in everyone's sight. When she saw the jeep appear, Chu Yanyan smiled and hurried forward. Chung Yun's face suddenly changed and became extremely gloomy when he saw two figures getting out of the car. You're such a haunted creature. Chung Yun said this through gritted teeth. It was Chung Xing and Su Yenran who got out of the car. Xiaoran. Yan. As soon as Su Yenran got off the car, she saw Chu Yanyan rushing towards her, and a bright smile appeared on her cold face. Soon the two of them hugged each other and became close to each other. The image of the ice beauty has completely collapsed in Chung Xing's heart. Are you two so close? Of course, we are good friends. Although Chung Xing knew that the relationship between the Suchu family was not simple, the relationship between the two of them was so good that it was beyond his expectations. However, watching the two women being so affectionate is indeed a beautiful sight. Huh? He's here too. Chung Xing quickly noticed a familiar strange gaze, turned his head slightly, and saw Chung Yun with a gloomy face. As for him, I remember that he was recommended by Chung Zhanshan. After all, he played a role in stopping the red-eyed rabbit dog during the L-Town incident. Su Yenran followed Chung Xing's gaze and said lightly, Never mind him, let's team up next.